Last year when I reached 10,000 subscribers, I thanked you all by making a special run with the big bad of Sacred Stones, the Demon King. So in order to celebrate 15,000 subscribers, which we've achieved a few months ago, first of all, thank you all who subscribed, but I was thinking it would be fun to do the other aspect of the big bad of Sacred Stones, and that is Lyon, of course. So let's begin this video by thank you all for 15,000 subscribers and counting. Your support has enabled me to live my dream in real time, and I couldn't be more grateful. If you haven't hit subscribe yet, well, consider hitting that button below if you find this video entertaining in any way, and to help me reach my goal of 20,000 by the end of this year. All right, enough of that. Now it's time to find out if you can beat Fire Emblem 8 using only Lyon. And before we get started, it's important to decide which version of Lyon I'm going to pick, because this character is normally a boss on 2 different maps. And if you clear the Lagdao ruins 3 times, you can unlock him as a creature campaign post-game unit. So which version will we choose? Well, I think it's pretty obvious that we're going to go with the playable version of this unit. And there's a few reasons for that. Number 1, the final boss version has ridiculous stats that would make this run very easy, or at least easier than what you're about to see. And the other reason is that a lot of y'all demanded that at some point I do the creature campaign units in this series. And if I end up going that route for future videos, if I end up doing those videos, it would only be fitting that the Lyon run would already be done within the vein of the creature campaign units. So I won't have to do that run twice. All right, you may be saying right now that no matter which Lyon I pick, it will be easy, because even the creature campaign version of Lyon looks quite good from a stats perspective. And you're not entirely wrong. For the early game, he'll be awesome, that's for sure. He's a level 14 character with no promotion, so you can kind of assume it's a pre-promote in a way. So starting with 22 magic is pretty awesome, and the same thing with 19 resistance. And I also don't hate 17 defense for a magical class. But when looking at his skill and speed, 13 and 11 respectively is pretty low for that level, especially considering the both low accuracy and weight of dark magic tomes. The constitution of 7 will make it that the necromancer won't be doubling consistently here. And the icing on the cake is that Lyon is out here trying to do his best Null impression with a base 4 in luck. What is it with these dark magic units and just being straight garbage in luck, man? What's the trend here? Anyways, I need to not crap on summoners and necromancer, I guess, in this case, because Lyon is not a summoner. He does have the same abilities as a summoner, but his class is technically necromancer. They do the same thing, but they're technically 2 different class. But let's not crap on them too much. The video just started. I need to keep some fun for later in the video. Between the Null video and the last video, I think Shaman fans probably don't like me very much. And just from my comments early on in this video with the bases, I'm probably not about to win any of y'all over. Either way, we'll get back to that a little later. Let's talk about some of the growths, because they look good. Actually, Lyon has really decent growths overall. His lowest, of course, is luck at 30%, but outside of that, he has really high growths in like all other stats. So we can expect some nice level ups to fix some of his, well, let's just say issues. The one problem here is that there is only a total of 6 level ups that Lyon will get. So despite having good growths, he won't be able to leverage that aspect of his character that much. All right, the last element we need to look at for Lyon is simply dark magic, because luckily he will begin with S rank in dark magic. But fun fact about Lyon, he is the only character in the game that can also S rank staves and both dark magic, because he begins with dark magic at S rank, but somehow the game doesn't seem to like recognize that. I don't know if it's a bug or a feature, but the game allows him to S rank staves also at the same time simultaneously. The only character in the game who can do that, by the way. There won't be a big use case for staves, as you tend to not be able to use them on yourself, but I'll talk about those a little bit later in the video. But Lyon having S rank in dark magic means I won't ever have to worry about leveling that up. But something else I won't ever have to worry about is running out of weapons, since the tome Lyon starts with is Naglfar or Nagfar or that tome. I don't know. Half the names in this game don't know how to pronounce them. It's okay. It's quite a good tome. Well, in some aspects. It's got 25 might, which is very good. I believe it's the highest might of any tome in the game, but what makes it even better is that it has no uses, meaning you can use it just infinitely. and it's the tome you might see me use for most of this run. Unless I have a specific need from other dark tomes and their special effect, but when I need those, I'll let you all know. There is one downside to Naglfar. It is that it is 18 weight, which means that Lyon will lose all of his base speed from using it. So there is a huge downside to it, as you'll have most likely seen early on, even as I get doubled by the chapter 1 fighter. Not that he will damage us because Lyon has insane bases, but hey, if you get doubled in the first chapter as a level 14 technically promoted unit, something to look at as the game progresses. And here's the moment we'll just address the elephant in the room, that being summons. The Necromancer class, much like the Summoner class, gets access to summons and phantoms. And if you've watched my last video, I trashed summons a little bit. And I still intend to make a video about how I believe they are overrated in general, but without going into that whole rant again, this is a feature Lyon has access to, and usually in solo runs, I have said it barely comes in handy. But will that be the case for Lyon or not? Because he is a wholly different character, and he is the only character that gets them from the opening salvo. While I don't want to spoil what's going to happen in the video, as I just said, unlike Ewan and Null, he gets them right off the bat. They usually have to wait for promotion, so it takes a few maps, but having them from the get-go might change up a few things. And I will make sure to highlight in this video all the moments where summons come in uniquely handy. And that means doing a little bit of rewinding right now because you may have seen it, but I will touch on it. The way we decided to handle the prologue here was by using a summon to kill O'Neill. While I get quite lucky with the Killer Axe Phantom, I do get to one turn the map because of it. And that is probably the fastest we can actually clear this map, and that is a unique phantom situation that deserves some level of praise. And while Lyon does have inflated stats for the early game, which is going to make it very easy using the phantom in this way, that's a creative little adjustment you can do when you have this unique ability this early on. And you'll see that right on chapter 2, we'll have another unique phantom use. My opinion of them might be better if you had access them from the prologue on, I guess, because here they do come in handy to waste a little bit of less time on chapter 2. Usually the two bandits reinforcement from the left, you kind of have to track back to stop them from attacking your other force deployed unit, which makes the map a few turns longer because you can't intercept Bone before he gets to the village, usually making the map like a turn or two longer because of that short little backtracking. Well, here with the Phantom, I can simply send it to the left side and clear out the enemies while Lyon walks forward to kill the other enemies. Of course, the reason why you're seeing Phantoms be actually decent combat unit here is because Lyon's is level 40 from the get-go, and the Phantom's stats scale off of the Summoner's level. So Lyon being quite ahead in levels is enabling them to be quite powerful early on as more than just glorified bait and actually put up a fight in combat, which is really coming in handy to save a couple of turns on these early maps. And you'll see that once again on chapter 4, where I can use the Phantoms to both force the reinforcements to spawn early by going across the river as early as possible due to their flying ability, but also they allow me to split the map due to their potent combat once again. So I get to clear this route map a little bit quicker. Next up, chapter 5 will gain us a Draco Shield and Secret Book, but once again, uniquely, I can use summons to help me here a little bit. I can't believe I'm saying this again. They come in handy. Having them this early and high level truly makes them a whole different can of worms to use. We're only 5 maps in and we're already learning so much just from this video on how you can use summons early on to make your life easier, which is something literally no other unit can do. I don't know if it's going to be helpful in the future, but you know, we always learn there's something new in these videos, I guess. And this is also why I love doing these runs so much, because you tend to learn so many little details that you wouldn't know normally about these games, just because like there's unique interactions that would never happen otherwise. But something you may have not seen in my other videos is how I usually handle this map, and usually the priority is to save the houses first. So I have to rush forward and kill the bandits before they destroy the houses, which means usually leaving the houses open until the bandits are cleared out, which tends to mean some backtracking to just make sure the 3 rounds of bandits are cleared beforehand and I don't lose the skill book or the Draco Shield or whatever other items I might need for that specific character. And I know Natasha is a force deploy on here, but I tend to not use her for that. While I'm sure no one would really have a problem against it, I just think that using the second unit to grab these items kind of goes against the spirit of the run, as you all know by now. I will use force deploys for different thing if I absolutely have to keep the run moving forward, but Natasha grabbing the houses isn't really one of those moments. So I tend to opt out of using her. Anyways, here I'll be able to slowly start from the back and grab the Draco Shield house first, while I send the Phantom forward to kill the first round of bandits, making my life a little bit easier because once again, they have potent combat, so they can just take out a bunch of enemies. As I've said before, stat boosters are most important on pre-promotes because they don't get as much opportunities to grow and level up in these runs, so getting them all is super important. But this will make this map quite quicker, and we get to go kill the boss and end it once the items are secured. Following this, chapter 6 won't be quite different than usual, other than me buying a torch staff to use to have a little bit of vision over the map and get my staff rank up. But we're mostly going to be rushing down the boss here. And as I've said before, the reason I'm trying to get my staff rank up is because Lyon is the only character in the game who can get S rank in dark magic and save simultaneously. So, trying to do it on those maps where I can use some staves like a Fog of War map to get that at S rank. So beyond this, the game will continue to be quite simple. For now, Chapter 8 will use the summons to try and save Ephraim's group, while Lyon charges the throne room and grabs the angelic robe along the way. And to be honest, in this run's Phantoms so far have been really good. They're making this early game quite quicker than usual because, again, they have better stats due to Lyon having, in my opinion, the best Phantoms. We're going to get to that a little later in the video, but it'll be relevant a little later. Oh, and here you'll see Tyrador proc the Great Shield, funnily enough, but you'll see that Phantoms keep being quite useful going forward, even as combat units. The higher levels they have compared to all our other summoner runs matter, but also the stats do a little bit too. And as Chapter 9 plays in the background, let's look at technically our final form Lyon. Before we get started though, as always, Chapter 9 of Eirika route has a second Draco Shield that is very often missable, but Phantoms allow Lyon to be one of those unique units that can grab it since it can stop the pirates in time. So that's nice. All right, so what you're looking at on screen is our current Lyon, who only has the one angelic robe, Draco Shield, and skill book. And he's looking average, a little above on speed and defense, which is nice. But other than that, just average. And veterans of watching this series will see the immediate problem here. These stats are bad for a solo run, for the final map specifically. Right now, Lyon is looking quite formidable, but this will catch up to us later. We know more stat boosters are in our future, such as Amelia's Speedwing we get on this map. But yeah, the lack of access to growth will make this run sour, not soon, but at some point in the future. But let's see what happens going forward. Also, you'll see that I use the level 20 summons on Chapter 9 to kill more pirates in the back. Something you don't usually get access to with Phantom because their level is usually much lower, making them less potent combat unit. So having them to be able to take a fighting role on route maps is actually saving us some turns overall. I guess we're truly seeing what they can do at their max capacity against bad units, which usually we don't get a chance to do that exactly. So on the subsequent maps, the pure stat domination will continue as FE8's mid-game is a joke. For the most part, we'll grab the extra skill book and goddess icon from the two subsequent maps. On Chapter 12, we'll grab the energy ring and use Phantoms to speed things up by fighting some of the faraway mountain units that slow this route map down. But other than that, not much of note will happen. Chapter 13 will come and go as usual, and I'll try to use the Phantoms again here. But overall, we're going to see that they're, I don't want to say fall off point, but we're going to see them kind of teeter off slightly here. Luckily, Lyon has some really good Phantoms in terms of strength growth and luck and decent speed, so they remain semi-potent combat option up until this point. Here, it will slow us down a little as the Phantom blocks the path to Ias by not killing that one knight in one round. So I do technically lose a turn here, since if that one knight had been dead, we had a straight path to Ias, but alas, it is not the case. So his summons are still somewhat helping, but their value is dropping a little bit in terms of pure combat. But being able to use them that much up until now was a huge boon. And on the following maps, I'll try to use the Phantoms again. One of them will kill a bunch of calves on that right side, which is nice as I pick up the energy ring. But the reason that Phantom is fighting the calves is because I made a little bit of a mistake. The summon was supposed to block the bulk of reinforcements, because if you place a unit on one of those bottom tiles on the right corner of the map, it is supposed to block 2 of the 3 calves from coming through. But at the time of recording this, like 2 months ago, I hadn't done that strat in like a while and had forgotten which tile I needed to block. So I didn't block the correct one, so they all poured through. I could have reset it, but I just decided not to because it wasn't really a huge deal. Also, fun strat you can do here with units that get staves. If you get their rank high enough where you can use the unlock staff, you can avoid key drops detour, which can save you a couple of turns. But also, if If you're like me here and you're short one tile to use a key, you can simply use the unlock staff from 2 range, which opens the door and saves you that extra turn of walking to the door and opening it. It's not like a game-breaking strat, but I thought it'd be nice to share because while the unlock staff may be one of the biggest joke staves in GBA in my opinion, it has a very niche use case for solo running, which is kind of cool when you think about it. Realistically, it comes in handy on maybe like 3 maps, but it's still cool nonetheless. The fun thing about Lyon is that despite everything, he has still pretty decent defense. So despite being near the halfway point of the game, most units still do no damage to him. So his very poor speed hasn't been a problem just yet. So it's been at least easy on that front for the most part. As chapter 15 comes around, you'll see that I do the same strategy I did for the Ewan run with the Phantoms, where I try to send them out to fight the Wyverns to varying degrees of success. It is going slightly better than with Ewan, I must admit. The better speed and luck of Lyon's Phantom actually make them slightly harder to kill, making them better for this particular solo run. But it is kind of the strategy we employ here as we write turns on the fort to get the boots. Better try to kill something with Phantoms than just wait there doing nothing. On the topic of wasting time, here comes the biggest waste of my time ever with Null, who actually survives the first hit. But then on the next one, well, we all know what comes next. Bye-bye, Null. Alright, while I pick up the nice desert items, like boots, eclipse, and the body ring, which Lyon will need because his con of is 7, which is bad, let's talk about why Phantoms are looking, let's say it, much better in this video than they did for any of the 2 previous runs. There are 2 main factors here. The first thing is the obvious one, which we briefly touched on earlier. Lyon has the unique access to high-level Phantoms from the outset of the game, which enables the Phantoms to be used on more maps where they actually make a bigger difference, those being the first few chapters of the game. But also, we've seen that the Phantoms are producing well on maps where other Phantoms are normally available, and they seem to be less of a hassle to use. And it's because, as I've said earlier, Lyon's Phantoms perform better because they are actually statistically just better. Having between 30 and 29 luck, 18 to 20 strength, 12 to 13 speed is actually quite decent until quite late into Sacred Stones, given how easy of a game it is. Null and Ewan's Phantoms, when you look at them statistically, each get nice little perks. Null having the fast and lucky Phantoms, and Ewan getting the strong ones. But Lyon actually just gets the best of both worlds. He gets better strength than Null's Phantoms, about equivalent speed and skill, better luck than Null's Phantoms, and about the same strength as Ewan's Phantom with, again, better luck, speed, and skill. He just gets the best stats for his Phantoms. So here they look like they are overperforming because this isn't a standard Phantom experience. Within the main core of the FE8 experience, these Phantoms are better because they tend to exist for the post-game only. Normally, you'll never see these Phantoms in this area of the game because they just simply cannot exist due to Lyon being a creature campaign unit, which is why I'm not changing my overall tune on Phantoms in this video, because in my opinion, these aren't the ones you can expect from a normal FE8 run. But here for this solo run, I will admit we can easily lean on them more than in Ewan solo or even Null's, who in my opinion has better summons than Ewan's. And I think they are doing a pretty decent job, even up to this point, still kind of holding their own. So much so that I'll use one Phantom to chip down Valter before the kill threshold, before attacking with Lyon to avoid getting pierced and doubled. Because yes, we get double with Naglfar, but if he pierces us, then we get rid of all the nice defense, which would make his attack normally low enough on us. With this out of the way, let's move on to chapter 16, where we will start encountering better enemy unit quality. And you can see that some of the heroes and warriors can finally now damage Lyon. It won't be a huge problem right away, but Naglfar will start losing a little bit of value because of how much it is starting to negatively affect our speed and equally our dodge rate. Where it wasn't an issue earlier since we took 0 damage, now it's becoming a little scarier. But we'll grab the talisman and move on to chapter 17, after kind of a close call with Orson. On chapter 17, we'll start the map by doing the Nosferatu detour on that bottom shop. Since you can't buy that tome anywhere else for some reason, no overworld shop sells it. It only is sold in this particular map shop, so we're going to load up. I'll even switch to the Nosferatu tome on this map to ensure my survivability, since it does have the unique ability to heal you for the damage you do on the enemy. And the promoted units here started doing just enough of damage to Lyon to warrant the switch to a much safer tome. We don't get the one-shot potential, but it is safer in the long run. But here we can truly see how, in comparison with the past two videos, the Ewan runs, how having good speed and luck actually matters quite a bit for getting good dodge rate, and very consistent dodge rate, that is. We'll miss out on enemy Lyon's Fenrir. I tried to kill him on the Nosferatu to get the only available Fenrir in the game, but it didn't work. It's not a big deal because Fenrir isn't all that great. Anyways, if we need a high damage tome between Gleipnir and Naglfar, we should be plenty covered on that front. Getting an extra Nos isn't awful in the grand scheme of things. Okay, so time to talk about my favorite chapter of all time, chapter 18. I'm being very sarcastic here. Here, the first thing I'll do is use Flux for the first time in the run. Lyon, as previously highlighted, has Piss, Poor, Avoid. And here, getting hit by a stone pretty much means game over, so not great for us. Lyon does get the advantage of having summons here, who from the onset of the map are quite helpful to clear out eggs before they hatch. Something to note here is that while Lyon has pretty good magic, the Gorgons have decent enough resistance that one-shotting them isn't always an option. So we do have to find creative ways to lower their HP using either the lava tiles or phantoms, because counterattacking them when they have the stone equipped is going to be scary given the high hit rate of stone against us. So first I will send the phantoms down and Lyon up. This allows us to lower the amount of eggs overall early enough so that we have less Gorgons to worry about. Once my phantom dies at the bottom and Lyon is stuck up top with a few about to hatch eggs, I decide to place him near the top egg and summon a phantom to attack that right egg. Here, I know that at least one of those eggs isn't hatching until the next turn, and I know the top egg on the left of Lyon doesn't move, so it'll either attack the phantom or Lyon. And since I can't avoid damage, knowing how the AI of these Gorgon works, it shouldn't use stone and should simply go for the damage, which is ideal because I believe they prioritize damaging if they can. So them using stone only happens when you can counter attack at 2 range. Normally, we went over this in a previous video, but I'm still not 1000% sure of the Gorgon AI. By this point, I'm starting to understand it well, but sometimes I do get blindsided by like just one that doesn't function the way I remember, but you know, we'll get into that if it does happen. Okay, so the enemy phase goes around. The Gorgon eggs are going to hatch right here. And as you can see, that one egg isn't hatched on the top group. The phantom is killed by the first Gorgon immediately, so that's bad. But as I said, the other one on the left doesn't move and goes for a Demon Surge right away. So only damage. It's still 9, which is annoying. But all these other move, and this one goes for stone. It's 44. We dodge. Good. Good. All right, now what I want to do is place myself in a somewhat safe position. And what I'm going to do is place myself down a little corridor and summon. The reason I do this is for them to not go for stone as much. What I mean by that is that if I only leave them one options of going for stone, there'll only be one Gorgon that will go for stone. The other ones will have to get in range to attack and then will attack. We dodge at 49 stone, which is really good. So as you see, this one trickles in and goes for the attack, not the stone, because they can see a potential kill eventually. So all these other Gorgons are just going to trickle in, go for the damage. Luckily, we did get one dodge or two in here. That helped out a lot. But as you can see, 62 damage on Demon Surge isn't half bad. But here my strategy works. I'll keep summoning and sending summons in because, well, if the summon survives, they'll go for it all the time, or most of the time it seems, because they see a kill just directly on it. As you can see here, the summon dies, but that other Gorgon doesn't move. And then I'll just go in, kill the other one on Demon Surge with a damage. We know that other Gorgon doesn't move, so as long as we stay out of range for it to attack or stone us, we are good. Then there is one final Gorgon, but it's got 19 HP, so I'll just go in, attack, and finish her off. And then it's just going to be a matter of cleaning up the one that doesn't move. So that's kind of lucky. We did dodge 2 high 40 stone hits, and you kind of need that dodge for this map to work. It was a few claw skulls, but you see how dangerous this map can be, and this is why here I'll simply spam summons a lot and fight the Gorgons one at a time going forward, bringing them in with phantoms and either locking them in on a fire tile like I do with the boss, or get them low enough so Lyon can come in and finish it, because the hit rate against Lyon and the damage is simply too high overall. This is a very slow and tedious process, so I won't show it all to you, but it's consistent enough that you don't need too much luck outside of that first kind of onslaught, and then when you're out of it, you can kind of control the map using the phantoms here, which is very lucky for Lyon. The phantoms are very effective here because his stats just aren't quite there. I guess it kind of really goes to show that the phantoms are really useful when your main option of damage isn't good enough to rely on it, and right now Lyon's main option of damage is falling off significantly, so we have to find creative ways around beating those maps. and the phantoms are a part of his arsenal, so he luckily gets that to overcome the harder sections of the game. And luckily we had the phantoms because for once they've been dominant. The high luck on them is once again helping them. And if you don't believe me that high luck is really good, go watch the Euron's run. It's kind of a perfect showcase of how important high luck can be, and these phantoms are showing it again. They can stick around and do multiple things instead of just immediately dying, but they were crucial here. And you'll see the phantoms transition from facilitators of speed, which they were early in the run, making the maps faster, to actually becoming a tool for consistency now for Lyon. Because while some units in solo run can simply run through maps and brute force them because they just have really good stats, well, other units that are a little weaker like Lyon here need consistency, and finding the most consistent strat that kind of just works even if it's slow sometimes is what is going to enable them to finish the run. And the goal of this series is just try to find ways to finish those runs. Even if it's not pretty, it's got to get done. Chapter 19 will be kind of how it usually goes. We'll rush down Reeve and end it in a few turns. This isn't unique to any character. It kind of always goes down this way, so I won't touch on it too much. Same thing goes for chapter 20. Nothing different than normal happens. It's all about getting to the boss ASAP and finding ways to beat Morva, since all other enemies are kind of pushovers on this map. Lyon doesn't have a great matchup in the Morva since his hit rate with Luna is kind of very awful. Even though Luna ignores defense, it's still quite inaccurate, just base, and Lyon doesn't have the skill and luck to make up for the tome's deficiencies in the same way Ewan had, and even in a certain way Null had. What I'll do is rely on Nosferatu to Nos tank a lot of damage until he is low enough on HP to finish him off with the powerful Naglfar, and it's pretty decent damage. Then it's finally time for the final map. How is this going to go? Well, let's find out together, shall we? Well, our first order of business is to get the final angelic robe to tick our HP over to the maximum of 60. So once again, the Gorgon is taken out. With the help of the Phantom, we grab that robe and move on to the left side zombie dragon, which Lyon does actually really good against. The Luna hit rate is high enough to be consistent, and we can finish him off with Nosferatu to get some of our HP back. So the first roadblock is kind of easy and doesn't really need to be mentioned here, thanks to the unique aspect of dark tomes. And this is the beauty of dark magic for these runs. It's that the different tomes kind of allow you to be flexible and not rely on healing items too much, which is nice for them, and it gives them a little bit of an edge. Oh, and by the way, I didn't touch it in the video so far, but I gotta say Lyon's combat sprite might be one of my favorites in the game. It looks great. But after that, we'll see some Lyon on Lyon action. Huh? That sounded weird. Anyways, we're using Eclipse. We can half his HP. The hit rate is 59, so not great, but we get a little luck and hit. So, great start. Also, this is the unique feature of Eclipse. It always halves HP. So after that, we can use Nos tanking strats to kill the left side units and that one Gorgon to pave a path towards Imposter Lyon. Or I guess we're the Imposter Lyon. Don't think about it too much for the story implications. It's going to hurt your brain. Also, you'll see that I have Latana with me, which is what I was trying to S rank staves for, because I was hoping that maybe I could heal myself with it and make this run even easier, or at least a little bit more unique for Lyon. But unfortunately, using Latana for extra heal strats doesn't work. Even if the description says that it heals everyone on the map, you cannot use it if you have no other ally than the caster who can be healed. So it can't really be procced. It's a little unfortunate, but I had to try it out. I had to give it a shot. It was probably my only opportunity to try it out, and it does not work. And here you'll see me fumble a little bit before fighting the other Lyon. I'll use a lot of summons to try to take out the Gorgon, which isn't a bad call, but in many instances I could have killed them with Nosferatu just to heal and, you know, be full HP. And I do use an elixir here, which again, misplay on my part, so a little bit of a waste, but sometimes in long runs like these, by the end, little mistakes can creep in, so it's not that big of a deal, but, you know, something to rectify in other attempts, if we get to do other attempts. And Lyon can be killed with 2 uses of Naglfar. We don't have to worry as long as we enemy phase him first, because he is also slowed down by the exact same tome we're using. Also, a Tomahawk Phantom does 2 damage to Lyon, so technically that or the Devil Axe can do some damage on him. So if you want to just spawn a bunch and go to town, well, it's a strat to keep in our back pocket, but don't really think we'll need it. It was an easy enough fight that we probably won't need to waste time just summoning characters over and over again until we kill them. Not exactly smooth, but very doable. And here goes the first Demon King fight. We'll start by, of course, moving Ephraim out of the way to keep him out of our business. And then Lyon will fight the Demon King, fighting literally his demons. And Naglfar does 13 damage, but we get double. Luna does more damage, but 40 hit rate. And we do have a small chance of dodging with Luna, but this is all bad. All our options are shit here. So you see I put Latana away and pull out Glepnir. And we'll check Glepnir, and not much better. 11 damage, 80 hit. Naglfar is actually better. Luna is 40% hit rate. But like the 29 damage with a little bit of crit is the best we got. In all cases, we get doubled. And he does 24 damage to us. I'll go for the assured 13 damage, or more assured with the 85 hit rate. I don't know if that's the right strat. I do have Eclipse in my back pocket. He will double us. Luckily, we do get a free turn here where enemy reinforcements spawn. So we'll kind of run away and use Nosferatu to heal up on the enemies here because, well, he's a little scary. I don't know how we'll handle it, but first let's take care of the reinforcements. Pull out Nosferatu. We'll start by killing this eye. Is all gonna be fine, but as you can see, even the enemy's like hit rate here, like 64% isn't bad. We get a lucky dodge though, but in the grand scheme of things, we do have to be careful because, you know, these enemies over here are no joke. So the Gorgon will come to us, 66% hit rate on stone, and it hits. All right, well, the rest of this map doesn't really matter because this actually just means a game over. You'll be like, oh, the rune sword does no damage, but the other units will be doing damage. So we'll catch our game over from a really high stone hit rate, and we are now learning that we have to be careful with the enemy reinforcements because if there's a Gorgon in it, we have to find a way to take that out before it uses stone on us. So something to keep in mind, I guess. This might possibly be our toughest Demon King challenge like ever. So what will I do in general? Before I get into it, I do want to show you the real final form of Lyon with all the extra stat boosters I mentioned throughout the video because it has been a while since y'all have seen him. And for my visual learners, the speed and luck are quite the main issues here. So having a little bit of a reminder why he looks so bad might be a good thing for you guys. More skill would be nice, but those aren't awful stats overall. It just goes to show the value of speed in this, and having decent luck is also a nice plus. So the first adjustment we will do is not use Eclipse anymore on Lyon because it is absolutely not necessary. There's other ways to beat him that are very consistent, and we need every single little thing that will damage a Demon King, and that means all uses of Eclipse. Using the awesome Nosferatu Tome, other Lyon will be quite easy to fight just generally. For the exact Demon King fight, it'll be a little bit more complicated because starting with Luna does do the most damage and has a 4% crit rate. However, we can't rely on it because the hit rate is really low. So the best case scenario is we get a crit Luna early on, or like 2 or 3 or 4. But, you know, it's not gonna happen. I'm not shy of using luck to win these, but sometimes you just have to be realistic about what is possible. Both Glepnir and Naglfar have higher hit rates, but much lower damage, and we get doubled by all of those tomes no matter what. And technically, Luna does give us a 4% chance to dodge. We get better dodge with Luna. It's not like great, but it's something we do have. I think the bottom line of all of this is that luck will be needed. We will need to get somewhat lucky somewhere. But there might be another strategy in our books. Let's break this down. And to do so, we must talk about summons real quick. The reason I'm not really using them here, it all goes back to the Null run. And let's look back at the Null run where I did place a summon in range of the Demon King while Null was in kill range in the same distance. I had hoped the summon would distract him, but in that run, the Demon King went for Null. Luckily in that attempt we dodged, but it does show that the Demon King AI does choose the kill on Null over the kill on the Phantom. I still don't quite understand the interaction or decision here, but basically the AI in Sacred Stone has kill AI, so it prioritizes the kill despite both of them being kill in range. I think it's because the Null hit rate was probably better, which is why I decided to go for Null because it had more chances of killing it, but I'm not sure. So this is why Phantoms don't do much on this map. They don't reliably attract the Demon King towards them for being a safe option if your other unit is low on HP. So here's why I don't use Phantoms in the Demon King room, because they've outlived their utility in my eyes at the moment. But with all that being said, here, after looking at our situation we are in Hail Mary territory. We need something. So we're going to be trying some freaky weird shit until something works. We're going to need some absurd luck, and I'm hoping this will work. So what I'm thinking here is I'm thinking to try to find a way for the Demon King to have a better chance to kill the Phantom than Lyon. So he ignores Lyon and always goes to the Phantom despite Lyon being low on HP. With his hit rate against us being at worst 96, the odds of that being worse than on the Phantoms are low. But we'll try to have to get as close as possible. First off, we'll attack him, go back to Luna since his HP is really high, and I need to maximize the damage I potentially do. Luckily here we hit, which is really lucky and helpful. Here we're gonna have to deal both with a Gorgon and Evil Eye, which is going to be quite annoying, but Naglfar will be able to take out the Gorgon quickly, and the Eye will focus Ephraim for a little bit, so no problem. Luckily, zombie dragon spawns is never a problem for units with summon abilities because we can essentially either move the dragon or the Demon King using phantoms, which makes that a non-issue overall. Next up, we'll use our Eclipse Tome and see how lucky we can get with the very low 20% hit rate. And we'll hit 1 out of 5, which is, well, not ideal, but okay. With a hit rate of 20%, we kind of have to settle for 1 out of 5 being good enough. We cannot be too demanding from RNGesus over here, okay? So now that the obvious moves are out of the way, what's next? How do we close this out? He has 45 HP left. We have 0 chance of dodging anything he throws at us, and we need a crit. We need to hit low hit rates. There's something we need to do. So the first thing I'll do is move him closer to us on the right side, away from the zombie dragon. And while I do that, I see the phantom hit rate. I see what it is, and I get an idea. What if I can ensure, as I said earlier, that the phantom is a better kill than Lyon? So here, what I'm thinking, as you see me cycle through a bunch of phantoms, is that I'm looking for specifically a Devil Axe phantom, which the odds of getting are a little below 6%, so they're really rare. The reason I want a Devil Axe Phantom, one specifically, is because that axe's weight, which will slow down the phantoms the most because it is one of the heaviest weapons in the game, is that maybe it will get the odds of the phantoms to be closer to 100 than Lyon on Luna. That's kind of the way I see it, but I don't exactly know the math, so that's why I'm trying to test out, like, in real time by spawning a bunch of phantoms. Basically what I'm trying to do is mess with the AI's mind here if I can. I'm not an expert on the GBA AI. I don't really know with certainty what it prioritizes. I do know a little bit of it from having played this game like a million times, but sometimes there's weird interactions. There's things you just kind of have to test out in real time to see what happens. Because I don't really want to brute force this map because technically eventually we'll get the luck to get like 2 Luna crits. But like, that's not super interesting for you as a viewer, but also for me, it isn't very interesting because I technically, if I want to do that, I probably have to reset for like the next 12 hours and I'm not really looking to do that. So I'm going to try any strategy, no matter how convoluted it might seem. And you'll see that in the process of cycling through phantoms, I will get the Demon King stuck in that nook behind the pillar where he can only move up or left. And this might not seem relevant right now, but keep that in mind for in a few minutes or seconds. We'll talk about it again. Also, keep in mind that we really can't counterattack the Demon King that well because he will always attack us at 3 range if given the opportunity. I've never seen him do anything different ever in any of these runs. He always uses Demon Light every time. I don't think I've ever seen him use Ravager or go to melee range, since he always has a safe spot to attack from at 3 range. He's never in danger. So I'll keep cycling through the phantoms until I finally get the Devil Axe 1. But here I won't be quite as confident in my strategy anymore because the hit rate of the Demon King against the Phantom, despite the Devil Axe, is still slightly better than against Lyon. So Lyon is not safer than the Phantom. However, the Devil Axe Phantoms here, who has 19 strength, I believe that one does, can do 1 damage. He has a 37% hit rate. But that means that between Lyon's Phantom, if they roll 19 or 20 strength, they can do 1 to 2 damage to the Demon King. So technically, we could chip him to death if I was really motivated. So that is something to keep in mind. We do have to clear the 37% hit rate, which is super low, and the chance for the Phantom to Sudoku itself using the Devil Axe unique unlucky property where the damage is turned back on the user. But that means that on a technical basis, I could simply kill the Demon King with Phantoms, which would be really funny, especially with how much I shit on Phantoms normally. That would be awesome. I would need a lot of patience and determination, that is, but we'll see if I end up doing that. Also, fun fact, Lyon's Phantoms are the best Devil Axe users in the game because of the 30 luck. So that's very impressive. And probably the only Phantoms in the game that can damage a Demon King at all. So yeah, hashtag null could never. But for a second there, I'm actually considering this strat. So much so that I just attack with a Phantom and miss, but as I cycle through more Phantoms and test a bunch of things with the Demon King, I'm actually quite stressed out because I do want to find a more definitive way to kill him. So eventually I get another Phantom. This time he does 2 damage. He rolled 20 on strength. Nice. But here I decide to go for broke and just try something. Worst case scenario, it's pretty easy to get back to this point. I'll grab a game over and try again and try another strategy. It's not like that big of a deal to get back to this point. Lyon isn't that big of an issue and we can confidently get back to the Demon King, I think. And at the end of the day, I know there is technically a way to cheese this with souped out phantoms. So I place a phantom on one side and attack Lyon from the other. By the way, there really isn't any particular reason I go for the 1 tile range attack here over the 2 range. It was actually very random that I did that, but it will end up teaching us something about the Demon King's behavior. That is going to be super important. I attack, I miss, he hits me twice, and I'm in kill range now. I end my turn, but he decides to attack the phantom this time. Really weird. But we do live to fight another day. So he is behaving differently than he did in the null run. I run back and I heal. But something I don't quite realize here is that he now has Ravager equipped, which, by the way, only has melee range. It's a 1 range attack. It cannot counterattack at 2 or 3 range, unlike Demon Light. For some reason, his AI switched to the melee attack when forced to attack at 1 range. Even though Demon Light is 1 to 3 range, I don't realize that quite right away though. So I could have just attacked him over the wall here for free there, but I don't make that realization yet until I spawn another phantom and then I see it. I see that he switched. I'm like, I'm not doing any more damage with the Devil Axe and he's doing a lot more damage now. And that's because the passive bonuses given by Ravager give better defense, resistance, and strength to the Demon King than Demon Light does, while Demon Light gives better resistance. But you can also check the calculations here. If I decide to attack with the Demon King having Ravager equipped, this is a one-shot, as both hits do 30 damage and he still doubles, instead of the previous 25, since it has better might and, again, better bonuses that it gives. So I want to make sure that he doesn't do any of that. So I'll attack from behind the phantom to make sure that he doesn't have the movement to get around and do that. Even though I've never seen him attack with Ravager, I'm not taking a chance here. If he's on it, maybe he's going to start using it. I don't know. If a hit rate of 95 on Naglfar and damage of 18, we will hit. But no crit with a 4% chance. Unfortunate. And on the enemy phase here, the Demon King will further confound me as he fully ignores a perfect kill phantom to attack Lyon at range with Demon Light, leaving me at 10 HP. And now I back everything up again. So if this is confusing for you, trust me, it was confusing for me too. But let me try to explain what may have happened, because I have a theory. The AI isn't really messed up. The moves that it's making is actually quite logical here if you go by the base principle that it will always try to go for an assured kill. But I think that getting him in the corner first was actually quite crucial. First off, why did he ignore the kill on Lyon at first and go to the Phantom? Well, my best guess is that when he was forced to attack at 1 range, the Demon King is coded to attack with Ravager. Somehow when he's attacking at 1 range, the AI makes him switch attack. Which is also why you never see it, because usually he has options to move. But that still doesn't explain. I'll get to that in a second. Next up, we need to talk about the next attack. When the Phantom was 100% a kill, and Lyon wasn't, but he still ignored the Phantom and went for Lyon instead. And I think what happened here is the AI may have calculated the kill chance using the extra stat allotted by the passive given by Ravager. Because as we saw, Ravager one-tap Lyon, but when it switched to Demon Light, since that was the only way to attack Lyon from range, his stats were essentially changed, so its damage dropped because Ravager gives stronger damage passive than Demon Light. So when the actual attack went through, after the AI did its calculation, the damage was less than believed at first, since the AI isn't smart enough on GBA and treats those additional passive stats as a permanent fixture of the character's stats, instead of something that it should calculate into its attack depending on the weapon it uses. And I think this is also what happened early on when Lyon was at 10 HP. It saw 2 kills, but calculated it with a Demon Light stats, even though Ravager was going to be used because the equipped weapon at the time was Demon Light. So when it switched, it did not see the 100% hit rate on Lyon. What it saw was a 96% hit rate, so a 4% chance to miss. And if it did miss, Lyon then had a slight chance to crit on its counterattack and kill him, whilst the Phantom had a higher chance of dodging. If he counterattacked, there was no way he would do lethal damage to the Demon King. So all of that to say, I think the way the Demon King AI works is that it prioritizes not taking a chance at lethal damage, because there was a higher chance of lethal damage versus Lyon that first time than the Phantom, who did 0 damage or 1 or 2 damage essentially. I'm not quite sure. Some people can check my work in the comments, but I think I've started to figure this out. But hey, that's just a theory. Oh wait, that's gimmick infringement. I can't do that. I'm gonna get sued. But either way, this is my theory of what all those interactions were. Mind you, at the time of playing, I had no idea what was going on. I just kind of saw something weird happen. It's just now with hindsight that I'm drawing this conclusion. It might be a little too like 5-head and complicated. I'm not sure, but I think I've got it. I think I figured it out. So anyways, sorry about nerding out over AI interactions in my strategy strategy video games, but I thought it was super interesting and a unique moment that can literally only happen in this exact scenario that deserves to be highlighted. But it also teaches us a little bit more about AI interaction in these games and how this specific enemy functions. And there's probably somebody who knew already all that, and I'm just like figuring it out now, but who cares? I thought it was cool, and I thought you guys, if you like this series, would find it cool too, okay? So don't come at me in the comments. So anyways, I go back to trying to spawn a Devil Axe Phantom, which is, by the way, not 100% sure is essential for this strategy, but at this point, I was just trying to recreate the exact same parameters to make sure that I could recreate that moment. And I finally do here. Once again, I go for Luna since that's what I had done before and get very lucky and hit that 40% hit rate. Take out the Demon King and beat FE7 using only Lyon, but in the most scuffed way possible. I don't really know what to say anymore. This is truly an insane run. The ending with the Phantoms being crucial or even a possible way to kill the Demon King with enough resilience. He had a couple ways of ending this map. Learning about all this different AI stuff with the Demon King was so weird, and honestly one of the most fun runs in a while because of how weird the ending was and how creative I had to get. It wasn't a matter of steamrolling through with high stat. It was literally a matter of having to think about figuring out the AI to abuse it to the maximum potential. So that was pretty freaking cool. And again, I got to give props to Phantoms here. They were uniquely powerful. The Lyon Phantoms are really good. Doesn't change my overall opinion on Phantoms, but it does make me appreciate these Phantoms particularly. And I don't really think any of the other Phantoms could have done the same things in the late game, but maybe that's something to test out for later. But the Phantoms did pretty good here, and I got to tip my hat to something that I did not believe in at first, but now, you know what? I'm a little bit more of a believer in Lyon's Phantoms specifically. Anyways, how do I rate this guy? He had the easiest, probably 85% of the game, right? Most of the game was easy as hell. And then you can see signs of struggles in the late game, but like very intense struggles to the point where Phantoms have to bail him out. And I have to find quirky strategies to beat the final map, which, to be fair, he has a couple down his sleeves that are very unique and creative. They are tedious, long, and require you hitting a lot of very low percent hits, but it's possible. You can just overwhelm the Demon King with a million Phantoms on paper, because Lyon himself has a terrible matchup versus the Demon King. This is a really tough one to rank in my opinion, because his final turn count of 399 and time of 9 hours and 18 minutes are kind of super inflated by that final map, because 117 turns for it was a crazy amount of turns. And the crazy part about it is we could have wasted even more turns. This is not the most turns we could have used on that map to beat the Demon King. If we went with the Phantom strategy, that was probably like a 200 to 300 turn map. Lyon was very close to being one of our best units to run through the solo run, but like the fall off in the end map is so drastic. I have a really hard time figuring out where to put him on the tier list. But I do think that the final map ended up being such a detriment to him in a way that it was really not to other units. But because he had Phantoms, which were a unique feature that he does have that is part of the unit evaluation, we cannot ignore them. They're not a crutch. They are a portion of the character's kit. So they need to be, they are evaluated within the same standpoint as any other thing a character can do. He did give me an opportunity to be really creative, and I believe he was the fastest unit ever in the early game for the last few maps. So it's hard to rank him. This tier list isn't really scientific anyways by any means, so it doesn't really matter. But I think I'll put him above Dazzler and Dusel in that tier. Yes, that time and turn is crazy, but the general ease of the run can't be understated. But the late game was really tough to get through and required very slow strategy that required some luck. So I do give him the edge over the other two because I think he required less luck because there was a strategy that technically works. It just takes like a million years to complete. But I'm sure someone's going to argue with me in the comments and disagree. And you know what? Feel free to give me your feedback because I'll adjust them if I need to. If you have a very good point, I'll adjust them. I've done it in the past with Salad. All right, enough yapping for me. I've been here for long enough. Tell me if you want to see more of the creature campaign units in the comment section. And thank you for watching. Leave a like on the video if you please. And check out the join button if you want to become a member. Huge shout out to all my members and Twitch subscribers, but specifically my tier 2 and 3 members here on YouTube. Those being Brawler456, Forgotten Fox, Hirame, Case, The Wolfman, Storm Eagle CH, Stylish, Grumpy Bear, Reploid, L Bunker, Faith Kiera, and Santos Show. I hope I'll see you all in the next video. By the way, before we leave, just letting you know there won't be videos for a while on the channel. I am technically probably right now on paternity leave while you're watching this. In 5 weeks, the series will start going up.
once I'm technically out of paternity leave. It's very complicated government stuff. Don't worry about it. But that means that for the next 5 weeks, there will be nothing on the channel, and then there'll be like a series going up twice a week for a few weeks before making more solo runs and challenge runs on the channel, as I am going to be kind of try to spend a part of the summer with my little one if possible. So thank you all for watching this series and the channel. It's been awesome, and you guys have been an amazing audience, so thank you so much. And yeah, that's about it. So just stay tuned on the channel in about 5 weeks for new content, and we'll just be taking a little break. All right, bye bye.